Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge with your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Remember, it's a news show. Some people still get their knickers in a twist about this. So what have we got in the news this morning? Double transfer swoop as clubs stack up ready to move in on Mason Greenwood and Marcus Rashford if Manchester United look to cash in or those players want to move on. We'll talk about what that's all about. Also, a bit of a blow around Manchester United's new stadium plans. Some people are out there writing War and Peace about why we should move on. Respect the people who don't want to. You've got a great opinion on why you do want to. Stop treating it like Qatar or Sir Jim or whether we should sell Greenwood or not. Some people aren't going to move on this. Some people don't want to leave Old Trafford. You can write a fucking book on it for all I care. You're not going to make me want to leave Old Trafford. If we move, we move. There's nothing I can do about it. But I don't want to leave Old Trafford. So write what you like about what we should be thinking and why we're wrong. I don't want to leave Old Trafford. End of story. If we do, I'll have to live with it. I don't want Everton to leave Goodison Park either. Anyway, we've got lots to get into. Also, a little bit of nonsense. I got a message this morning. I don't know whether anybody knows where it's coming from. Someone messaged me this morning and said, "What do you think about this new Bruno Fernandes contract?" I was like, well, we can talk about it on the news show, but we're not negotiating a new contract with Bruno Fernandes, so I don't know why it's even a conversation. I'll give you the detail on what his contract is and why we're not negotiating a new contract in a moment, of course. Welcome to the Members Club Fishing in Norway. What a fantastic name. You're very welcome. Get your badge in, support the channel. I was flying low there. Don't want to be standing up there. Lots and lots to get on with. Wayne Thompson, one more and you're gone. Simple as that. Right, let's get into the show. Hope you're doing well. Wednesday morning today. Going to be a bit early on the evening show tonight because I'm watching Villa play Chelsea in the Cup. Simply because we're playing Villa on the weekend, so I want to have a look at that and have a look at it ahead of us previewing it tomorrow. Welcome to the show. Right, let's get straight into this. We're going to start off with Mason Greenwood, although there is a story around Marcus Rashford as well. So Mason Greenwood, reports coming in last night that Atletico Madrid are interested in Mason Greenwood for Manchester United. A name that we're going to have to start talking about more and more over the coming weeks and months. The January transfer window is now closed. And it will move ridiculously quick towards the summer transfer window. I mean, you basically get 6 or 7 weeks now until the international break in March. You come back in early April, and you're wearing your speedos before you know it. And that's the summer transfer window. So these are the key weeks and months now where clubs will be approaching players, agents, and Manchester United about the availability of Mason Greenwood in the summer. And these are the key weeks and months. Well, I wouldn't even say months. I'd say these are the key days and weeks where Manchester United, Ineos, are going to have to make a decision on what they're going to do. We've spoken before about interest in Spain. Not a coincidence. That's where Mason Greenwood's playing at the moment. I would say Mason Greenwood at the moment is a little bit like if you take... because some people might not understand why it's just loads of Spanish clubs interested in him. I would say this is a little bit like when you've got a player like Caicedo playing for Brighton. And last season, and everyone's like, he's too good for Brighton, and then you get Chelsea interested, Arsenal interested, Manchester United interested. That's what's happening with Mason Greenwood. He's basically at a Brighton, and clubs within that league who are seeing him every week, and presidents and managers are going, he's too good for Getafe. There's a good player there. That's why there's a lot of interest in Spain. Why is there no interest in England? Possibly because he's playing in Spain and they're seeing him every week. Possibly because he's a Man United player and we won't sell him to another English club. Possibly because of the reason Man United didn't have him as well. Maybe no Premier League club wants to take that on, although I would imagine somebody would. Just Keevan says Caicedo's a flop. It's got nothing to... it's a hypothetical. What I'm saying is you've got a player playing at a club that's better than that club. That's what I'm saying. It's got nothing to do with... I mean, God, are you that tired that you think I'm comparing Caicedo to Greenwood? I'm saying it's like having a good player at a club that's not one of the top clubs. The top clubs start looking at them, and that's what's happening with Mason Greenwood. So this story about Atletico Madrid, we've had stories that potentially Barcelona are interested as well. Look, it's all good for Manchester United. I mean, it's very good for Mason Greenwood, of course, but I don't see the negative with this at all. If United want to cash in on Mason Greenwood, then it's a homegrown player and it's pure profit coming into the club. Whether that's 30, 40, 50, 60 million, I don't know what we get, but that's pure profit coming in. Now, we haven't had Mason Greenwood play for Manchester United for 2 years, it feels like. I think it nearly is 2. Well, it must be 2. Well, it is 2 years, yeah. It's 2 years now, isn't it? Of course it is. It's longer than 2 years. So Mason Greenwood's not played for Man United for over 2 years. We can't say that we miss him or that we need him back. You can say that I'd like him back. I'd like him back in the team. He's a good player, but you can't say that we miss him. You can't even say that he needs replacing, because how do you not replace someone over 2 years? So this is a good situation for everybody. It's going to be a very easy deal to do. Pure profit, says Savage as well. I think that this can only be a positive situation. It doesn't mean that there's not a chance that he might come back. And I know some of you would want him back. I respect that is a feeling within the community. I respect the fact that there's people that don't want him back. But what you want is, you don't want a Sancho situation. With Jadon Sancho, we aren't in a position. I mean, look, you look at the Sancho-Greenwood situations. They've both got to get resolved this summer. With Mason Greenwood, you've probably got 2 or 3 clubs that will give you 40 million straight away. You might even get more if you can start a bidding war. With Jadon Sancho, I don't think there's a club who will give us 30 at the moment. So that's the thing, isn't it? What you want is 3 or 4 clubs willing to give you 50 million for Sancho, 3 or 4 clubs willing to give you money for Greenwood, 3 or 4 clubs who want Rashford, 3 or 4 clubs who want Bruno. You're not selling all of them, but it's choices, isn't it? And that's the positive for me with the Greenwood situation, is that it's just a very easy sell. That, you know, he's done well enough at Getafe. There's enough clubs interested in him, and you know, he's a talented player. I'm never not going to say that. Generational, but there will be clubs looking to buy him, and I think that, you know, from a Man United point of view, nobody's saying let's make a decision right here, right now. But if he continues to do well at Getafe, you might even get a few more clubs interested. You then can push the price up. And if United want to go, look, it's not worth the hassle. He's not played for 2 years. It's 50 million that we can just put straight back into the team. Some people would say if you sell Greenwood for 50 million, you just use that 50 million to buy Elise. I don't think you need to use the Greenwood money to buy Elise. I think Elise, if he comes to Man United, you need to remove one of the current wingers. You don't need to use the Greenwood money. The Greenwood money should be used elsewhere if we're going to cash in on him. But look, as I say, I take it as a big positive. It doesn't mean the decision needs to be made, but if he's playing well and there's clubs interested in buying him, at least you're not in a position where he's playing badly and he can't rediscover his form, and you're like, we can't move him on, which is what the issue could be with Jadon Sancho. Of course, I don't see, from a financial fair play point of view, I don't know what we're going to do with Jadon Sancho. I personally think, and this is an interesting point, I personally think the transfer market's going to change massively. I don't think Premier League clubs can start chucking the money around anymore. I don't think we're going to see massive transfer fees anymore. I don't think that's the way football's heading. I think that we can clearly see that there are teeth with financial fair play, and therefore I don't think we're going to see many clubs spending more than £50 million on players anymore, which is good in a way because you don't spend as much, but it's terrible for Manchester United because we've got a £75 million player in Jadon Sancho that no one's going to give us anywhere near that for. So we will take a huge hit on Jadon Sancho with financial fair play because he's only, 3 years into a £75 million contract. So look, the homegrown player things are good. Do I know what's going to happen with Mason Greenwood? No. Do I want to do a poll on it? Not this week. We did it last week. 65% want him back, 35% don't. I think it was something like that. But the decision will be made by the club, and I think it's a big positive that there are clubs that are looking for him, and obviously the more the better. The more the better. Kyle says, Mark, that Rasmus interview was amazing. You're a god among men. Kyle, that is one of the nicest morning messages I've had this morning. Absolutely lovely. Sai says he can have his second chance somewhere else. We're dealing with a lot of problems already, and we don't want a player whose mental well-being will be affected if he plays for the club. I think that's a really interesting point. And look, it's something we'll delve into more in future weeks as we find out what's going to happen with Greenwood. But I said that last summer and people didn't want to acknowledge it. They just want him back. We want him back. We want the star boy back. And I was saying last summer, have you ever considered the mental well-being of that player? Now, some people would say I couldn't give a shit about his mental well-being because they don't like him, but Man United have to consider it because they've got a duty of care to their employee. Can you imagine what happens next season if Mason Greenwood comes back to England? At any club, let alone Man United. Can you imagine the pressure, the media, the noise from rival fans? But you've also got to remember there will be protests at Old Trafford from certain sections of United fans as well. Like, that is the worrying thing. There is a section within our fan base that are very opposed to this player coming back to Man United. Now, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. But look, I'm not going to make that decision. I don't think Man United should be leaving Old Trafford. So what I think doesn't really matter. Who knows what's going to happen? I just think we're going to have to talk about it. We're going to have to be mature about it. We can't bury it under the road or whatever. It is going to get discussed about, and he is going to either come back or he's going to be sold. I just think the big positive is that there's clubs willing to pay good money for him, which is pure profit for the club, and they can make the decision on it. There was a thing on Sky Sports yesterday saying meeting this week with Premier League clubs and spending an FFP, says Dazzo. Joe Kev, welcome to the Members Club, you absolute legend. And Conan as well, thank you very much. Get your badge in. When's the interview with Scott McTominay coming out, says Robert McCormack. Yeah, we're just editing it at the moment. There's a few. Have you ever seen Bart Simpson getting strangled by Homer? Yeah, there's a few bits we've got to take out, but that'll be coming up soon. I joke. I like how we don't want him, but we want his values as test subject. But I was trying to think that. I was trying to think that through. What do you mean? Like, but we've paid him loads of money. If you don't want him, we should get money for him. What are you trying to say? We should let him just go for free? No, of course. That's weird. That's like saying you don't want the car on your drive anymore and you should give it away for free. It's a value. Of course, that don't make any sense, mate. What are you saying? Those people who don't want Greenwood shouldn't get the money for him. Come on, we paid him enough money. Anyway, look, let's move on to the next bit. I'm sure we'll be coming back to that. Another story this morning coming in. I saw it on Sky Sports actually, that PSG would be interested in Marcus Rashford this summer. If there is any indication from the player that he wants to leave. So that's quite significant. I don't necessarily think it will surprise people, but obviously we've heard that Kylian Mbappe is going to go to Real Madrid, and PSG have had an interest in Marcus Rashford before. In fact, it was widely reported, wasn't it, just under 2 years ago, that his agent travelled to Paris in that bad season he was having before Ten Hag came in to discuss some sort of move. Look, it's news, and that's why it's on the news show. I wouldn't be running a show, let's say, let's sell Rashford. I don't think now is the time to do that, and I also don't think it's something I personally would want to do. Maybe you would, but PSG have just are losing Mbappe. They've lost Neymar, they've lost Messi, and Mbappe will be gone in the summer. That's 3 superstars in the space of 12 months. And whilst some would say PSG had too many superstars, they still want superstars. And Marcus Rashford sort of perfectly fits that. Now, some would say Leao at AC Milan fits it as well. I agree. Some would say Osimhen from Napoli as well. I agree. There's no necessity or obsession from PSG to have to go and get Marcus Rashford, but they've had an interest before, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I think from a PSG point of view, when you've got Marcus Rashford at his best on that left-hand side, makes a lot of sense for them. But the key thing in this is they were interested 2 years ago. He stayed at Manchester United, and they'll be interested now. There's no look. If I'm Marcus Rashford's camp this morning and I read that, I'm not worried about it. If anything, it's a badge of honour. Like, you know, big clubs interested in you. That's never a negative. It doesn't mean you're going to go. I remember countless times back in the day that Inter Milan wanted to sign Paul Scholes or Ryan Giggs, or Juventus wanted Roy Keane. Sometimes it even happens. Real Madrid want Ronaldo, and I guarantee you, I've said this to you for a long time. Garnacho Real Madrid's going to be a problem at some point. I hope it's not, but I'm absolutely convinced that is going to be a problem. I don't want to say it because I love Garnacho, and I think his potential's great. But I said this. I think I said it last season, not this season. I said it last season. I can just see at some point his dream is going to be Real Madrid, and Real Madrid are going to swoop in just like they did with Ronaldo. I can see it coming a bloody mile off. But look, if that happens, it happens. You enjoy what you've got and you cash in on what you've got, and hopefully you've got a club that's stable enough and has the ability to adapt. That's for the future. But these things happen. Like, good players get targeted, and if PSG are interested in Rashford, which I guarantee you they are, that's absolutely fine. But it doesn't mean we're selling him to PSG. It's, as it says in the article, if there's any indication that the player wants to move in the summer, they're ready to make a move. And that, again, I see that it's the same as the Greenwood thing. It's a positive, isn't it? It's a positive, because imagine if Rashford or Man United did want to part ways with Rashford in the summer and no one's interested in him. You're stuck in that situation where we've been stuck for a long time. So interest in your players. We were talking about it last night with Bruno Fernandes and Al Hilal. I don't want Bruno to go. I don't think Rashford should go. But if we did, there's clubs willing to pay good money for them. That's never a bad thing. As I said, I remember it with Giggs in Inter Milan. I was like, no. You read the back of the paper, no, and it doesn't happen. But there's nothing wrong with it. If it doesn't happen, there's nothing wrong with people having interest in their player, and you can see why PSG would be interested in Rashford, and I genuinely think they would. I mean, I think you hear some stories and you think, what a load of crap, but I genuinely think they would. Do I think Man United would sell Marcus Rashford to PSG in the summer? No. But I also don't know what's going to happen over the next few months. We've just had 2 really good games. The team looks like it's in tune. It looks like a happy squad. Why would you be talking about selling Rashford? But a few weeks ago, you'd be like, doesn't look like happy squad. Doesn't look like Rashford's in a happy place. Maybe a move is good for him. So who knows in the summer? Maybe that meeting they had last week was about... Nobody knows what happened in that meeting. Maybe Marcus Rashford walked in and said, look, I'm not happy. I just want to get out. And they've said, right, fine, we'll sort that in the summer, but get your head down now. Let's sort it out together. Maybe they walk into that meeting and Ten Hag says, I've had enough of you. You're gone in the summer, but look, let's get down and work hard together now. Maybe they walk in and go, oh, we love each other. We're here to work together for the next 10 years. I don't know what happened in that meeting, but who knows what could happen in the summer. But I don't think it's a negative that you got big clubs interested in your players. And PSG is a very logical club to be interested in him. But he's just signed a new contract at Manchester United. He's a Manchester boy, born and bred. He's been at the club for years. I personally don't think Rashford would ever want to leave Manchester United. I really, really don't. I heard somebody say the other day, do you think Rashford will want to leave because he's not going to be the star anymore because you've got Garnacho and Mainu and Rasmus coming through? I don't think... I mean, it could be a reason. Could be a very good reason. Maybe Rashford would look at it and go, I've been the star of this team and now I'm not going to be, the total star of the team. There's younger players coming through. But I don't think that's a reason to... leave, because when you're hitting 26 and 27 and 28, what do you expect? Of course there's going to be a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old coming through. That's the evolution of football. Ronaldo's seen it. Wayne Rooney's seen it. There's always someone coming through. You move into a more different stage of your career. So, which could suit Rashford. Who knows? I mean, he put a picture out last night that he was doing a jigsaw. He's doing other things with his spare time now. So, maybe a more mature Rashford will embrace that next stage of his career more and find a happier happier balance to his life. Who knows? But I don't know. I don't know. But I always think it's an interesting thing when you've got interest in your players. Definitely. When will we become bigger than Madrid? It hurts, says Partip. We're a long way away from that. I think if we sell him, says KD, we should get rid of Ten Hag. I don't personally want this, but Ten Hag wanted to make him the star player. What's your opinion? I don't want to get rid of Ten Hag, KD. As a good player as he is, Mason will create cliques within the dressing room and ruin the team chemistry. Not worth it, in my opinion, says Sean. Vincent says, I'm in California. Love leaving the club buzzed and catching some United stand live. Lovely stuff, Vincent. Hope you had a good night. Delo, best tackle success rate this season, 88% in the Premier League, says Garp. There was the thing on Sky Sports yesterday. I've done that one from Dazzo. Mark, if Barca and Atletico are willing to put their reputation on the line to have Mason, why is it so bad if we do, says Matthew. It's a different story, mate. Different story. Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. It's a good question, but Barcelona and Atletico Madrid are not based in England. Barcelona and Atletico Madrid have seen the reception at Getafe and feel that they can deal with that. Barcelona and Atletico Madrid can quite comfortably say, you know, the baggage is nothing to do with them. This is a rehabilitated player, and they want to make that deal. For Manchester United, the incident happened when he was a Man United player. There is a history there. There is a fan base that is, you know, not in total agreement. There is a media that is ridiculous. It is the country where he is from, where it would be ridiculously toxic at the grounds and stuff. And also Manchester United have already made a statement saying that he's going to leave the club and they're going to help him leave the club. So there's 4 or 5 reasons there why it's very different to Barcelona signing him. Doesn't mean that you're not making a good point, Matthew, but there are reasons why it's different for Barcelona to take Mason Greenwood in the summer than it is for Manchester United to bring him back. Doesn't mean they won't. Doesn't mean they won't. I'm just saying that there are differences there. Talking about Manchester United, interesting bit of information here for you with regards to the new stadium. The former sports minister for this country has said that Jim Radcliffe will not be able to use public funds to either redevelop Old Trafford or build a new Manchester United stadium. There had been reports that Manchester United would be looking to utilise public funds to help them build the stadium. He wants a state-of-the-art ground with a wow factor, and there was talk that the UK government may provide funds in a levelling up pledge. However, the former sports minister has said that that's not going to happen. Old Trafford may need upgrading to meet today's standards, but funding should not come out of the taxpayer's pocket to benefit the billionaires who own the club, especially as other clubs like Bury have faced ruin, devastating the town around them with no bailout from the public purse. However, the Mayor of Greater Manchester had a contrasting message saying we are absolutely standing behind the club. Whatever it is they want, we will facilitate and we will be there to make sure the club is set up for the future, and it's an exciting potential. It's an interesting point, isn't it, when football gets political? But there was one thing that resonates with me there. If we're going to get public funds to rebuild Old Trafford, we obviously are going to be very happy about that because Man City basically got a free stadium. It was a Commonwealth stadium. But there is an interesting point there, isn't there? That the taxpayer pays for Old Trafford to benefit the Glazers. We must not forget here that it's not Sir Jim Radcliffe that's building that stadium. He owns 25% of the club. The Glazers still own 50%, more than 50% of it. So again, you are building the stadium for Sir Jim, but you're also putting money in the Glazers' pocket when they should be putting money out of their own pocket, I think. In fact, I got sent this. I wanted to read this, actually. This was a message that we got from one of the community. TR is the name. Listen to this. I live near the Denver Broncos of the NFL. Years ago, they decided to build a new stadium. They had enough land to build the new one right next to the old one. They move over and tear down the old one and turn the land into parking lot. Unable to fund a large amount of it, they sold naming rights. It was always the Broncos Stadium at Mile High or just Mile High Stadium. The first sponsor was Sport Authority, a sporting goods company. and it became the Sport Authority field at Mile High. They went out of business due to aggressive expansion, but had to prepay on the contract, so we had a stadium named after a failed business for over a year. Then came Invesco. The stadium was called Invesco Field at Mile High. They fell on hard times and negotiated a way out of the contract before it was over and had to secure a new buyer for their contract. It's now the Empower Field at Mile High. Third company since 2001 to buy a name on the stadium. The stadium is okay, about the size of Old Trafford. It's new and modern, but it has no soul. Keep the original stadium and the history. The history does not move over and is soon forgotten. It's interesting, isn't it? You know, shiny new toys don't always work out. And if you have naming rights, it'll be a different fucking name every week. Yeah, not every week. But look, what Sky are saying this morning is that sources close to the club are saying that no definitive decision has been made. In fact, there was an interesting thing that came in. I mean, you won't like it. It might make you want to, get a new stadium. But Manchester United have held meetings within the last 2 years about whether to enhance or rebuild Old Trafford. Apparently, Joel Glazer is understood to have expressed his preference to renovate the stadium. Other figures from Ineos are understood to be spending extensive time in Manchester as they continue their audit of United amid planned structural change. Club staff have also flown to Monaco, where Sir Jim resides, for additional meetings. Sir Jim visited Carrington training ground on Monday as he continues to plan for assuming control of the club's operations. A source said Sir Jim is getting down to business at United as Ineos awaits regulatory approval for their stake from the Premier League club. So lots and lots going on at United at the moment. And there is that, as I spoke about last night, there seems to be that desire to get moving things quickly, doesn't it? But look, the stadium story was a big story yesterday. I don't really want to go back over it. I think we've all had our thoughts on it. But there's no decision been made yet. And but it'll be a very big decision when it's made. Gaggy, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. I think for a stadium, it'll be the owner's cash. The conversation would be around development of the surrounding area from some public funds, says SK. Are there any left-footed defenders in the youth that have the potential for the future, or do you think we should get one in the summer? I hope Eric Ten Hag stays, says Clemens. And Ruben says, thanks for the Rasmus interview, Mark. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully you can interview Højlund, Mainu and Garnacho together someday. And Not Important says, fun fact, Rashford is our 7th highest goal scorer in the modern era. The way some of you talk about him, you'd think it was easy to replace those goals, says Not Important. Some people might say that statement's not important, to be honest with you. Look, Rooney's our highest goal scorer in history. His last 2 years, I was ready for him to go. You can't survive on records. Gary Neville proved that. He retired when he felt he couldn't deliver it anymore. That's basically what it's all about, isn't it? It's sometimes there is a time to move on. I'm not saying that that's the case with Rashford, but I don't think you can point at records and do that. What I think is really interesting, just on the winger thing, and I'm going to come back on that left-footed centre-back thing because there is a solution, and we'll talk about that Bruno contract as well. What I find really interesting about this season is when we talk about, let's say, Garnacho. Garnacho, at the moment, is quite clearly our best right-wing option. I would argue he's the best left-wing option as well. Yeah, based on form this season, he's the best left winger and he's the best right winger, isn't he? Garnacho. I don't think anyone can argue with that. Garnacho's our best right winger and he's our best left winger this season. On form, he is. I don't think that can be argued. On talent, I still think you could say if Rashford can get his form back, he'd be the best left winger, and I think Garnacho would still be the right winger. But on form, and this season, Garnacho's our best right winger and he's our best left winger. That, again, is another example of this whole type of player that Man United need at this football club. Because when you look at the summer, you've got Sancho on tour doing well. You've got Anthony going into his second year, very expensive signing. And you've got Marcus Rashford, our top scorer. If I'd said to you when we were on tour in America in mid-July, who are our best wingers, then some people might have said Garnacho on pure excitement, etc. But you've got Sancho, £75 million. You've got Anthony, £80 million. You got Marcus Rashford, Player of the Year. And you're probably looking at Garnacho and you're going, really exciting player. Let's hope he can get some game time this year. And then you're in February. He's our best right winger and he's our best left winger and he's our most consistent one. That's what it's all about with United at the moment. I mean, Garnacho's 19 and he's our number one right winger and our number one left winger. And in the summer, you've got Rashford ahead of him, Sancho, you've got Anthony. There's a lesson there, isn't there? I mean, one, it's amazing the development of Garnacho in his second proper season. But two, most importantly, the mentality and consistency of that player, who is younger than all those other players, is incredible and should be promoted, as what we've seen with Mainu and what we've seen with Højlund as well. Not only are they young players, but their consistency is surpassing that of more senior players as well. I think Mainu and Rasmus get a lot more attention at the moment, but Garnacho had his game at the weekend. But I think what he's done this season is great, absolutely great. Brendan, thank you very much. Welcome to the Members Club. I hope there isn't a new stadium, as I've only just built the Lego Old Trafford with my dad, says Danny. I've got that. I've never finished it. I need to finish it. Mitunkarik says, if Mbappe moves to Real Madrid, chances are PSG will ask for Rashford. Fee should be around 75 million plus add-ons. Time to move on and reinvest. I think they'll ask. I think United will say no. Thanks for all the content. Podcast, That's Football, says Ike. Big shout out to those who listen to the podcast, by the way. Goldbridge Saves Football. Bit of a behind the scenes stuff this week on the Rasmus interview as well. If you're interested in that, check it out. It was new out yesterday. On the left-sided centre-back point, good point about the left-sided centre-back. Is there anybody coming through from the youth that's left-footed? I think this is specifically around Martinez, isn't it? When Martinez is fit, we've got that balance, left foot, whatever you want to call it. Very important player. When Martinez isn't fit, we don't have a left-footed centre-back that's anywhere near what Martinez is. So I think this is why we're heavily being linked to Branthwaite at Everton, because he is left-footed, and I think this is a big reason we're looking at him. We need a right-footer to come in as well. We know that there's going to be speculation around Rafael Varane and Harry Maguire for different reasons, but this is the big reason why we're looking at Branthwaite, I think, because he fits the profile of being able to play where Martinez plays. Mark Rashford, not important. Mark Rashford, 15 goals, assists. How many wingers do that? Garnacho is amazing, but he won't reach that. Only Sterling and Salah did. Not important. Thank you very much for your super chat, but you didn't need to do a second one. I think you've expressed your love for Rashford, and many people agree with you as well. We have to wait for the Sir Jim Radcliffe interview to find out exactly what his plans are for United instead of listening to sources close to him, says Carol J. To be honest, Mason is the best right winger signed by United as international. We didn't sign him. He came through the youth setup. And can we stick Shaw in at left centre-back again, says Mark James. Well, yeah, we can do, but we don't have a left-back. So, yeah, I think this is exactly why United are looking at Branthwaite. And I think Martinez has been very unlucky with injury. I don't see Branthwaite being... I don't see Martinez being an injury-prone player. I think both injuries are just really unlucky, and there's no reason why he'd pick up another injury quickly again when he comes back. But we do need people who can come in and do jobs. When Mainu goes off, no one can do his role. When Casemiro goes off, no one can do his role. When Rasmus goes off, we haven't got a striker. When Martinez gets injured, we haven't got a left-footed centre-back who can do the job that he does. When Luke Shaw's injured, we haven't got a left-back. There's too many holes in that team where you need what Pep does and what Klopp does, where they take a player out and someone comes in and does a job in a similar way. That's what United need to develop and build, and we're not going to have that this season, but we do need to bring that in next season. Do you think we'll get Branthwaite, Mark? There's a lot of buzz about him, and he's certainly a very exciting player. The fact that he's British and Premier League proven obviously will help. And I don't really think it's an easy deal to do. Other than that, seriously, I don't know why I'm yawning a lot this morning. I got plenty of sleep last night. I'm absolutely knackered this week. I do think it's a deal United will look to do. What I would say is that there's a couple of barriers. First of all, it's traditionally difficult to do deals with Premier League clubs now because they're all so wealthy. So even Palina from Fulham, you'd normally get for 30 million, and Fulham are saying they want 70. So it's very difficult, and because we've seen what Brighton do, so it's very. Apparently Brighton have gone and done another deal. I think they've done one last month. They've just gone and done another one today. Brighton bought another 2 players in the last month that you look at and you go, don't really know anything about them, and then you think they're going to be fucking brilliant. So, yeah, Branthwaite, I think United will try and do a deal. It's difficult to do those sort of deals for anywhere near market value. But there's 2 things that are positive about that. One, you've got Omar Barada as CEO, and hopefully we're going to see a change in how we do transfers. And 2, Everton are in financial problem. They are. They've had one 10-point deduction. They could get another one. They could be relegated. Hopefully that won't happen. I'd hate to see Everton get relegated. I've always liked them as a club, and I don't want to see that happen. But they at the very least, they could be in quite big financial problems, which obviously makes them vulnerable, which means that you can swoop in and get players from there. So I think Branthwaite makes a lot of sense for United, and it could happen. Use the Mason cash to bring in Tony, says Anthony Murray. I wouldn't go for Ivan Toney. I really wouldn't. I think he's a good player, but I wouldn't go anywhere near him. I think that it's potentially too much baggage for United to even risk it, to be honest. And when I say baggage, I'm not just talking about the gambling issue, which he may well have moved past. I'm sure he has. But also the age. I mean, I don't think there's going to be any real sell-on value for Tony, and they're going to want probably 60-70 million pounds for him. Yeah, definitely. Let me just get rid of this idiot in the chat. There's always a few. Do you have any news about Malacia, says Dinesh? No. No, I don't have any news about Malacia. I think that it's been a bad knee injury, and the recovery has been ridiculously slow. As I said yesterday, I think with Malacia it's a frustration because he's not a first team player anyway. He was sort of brought in as a squad player with potential, and then to lose him for like 9 months when you really need him, it's frustrating. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on him when he comes back, because he's sort of like Dan James, isn't he? We paid roughly the same money for Dan James as we did for Malacia, and you're not bothered about it. But you know that they need to improve a lot. And 2 years in, do we know anything more about Malacia than when we bought him? And, injuries unfortunate, but I don't really know what's going to happen with him, because these are his development years, aren't they? And he's injured. Hi, Mark. Don't swallow us from the yawning. And also, I love That's Football. As a wise man said recently, that's my church, says Young Sandman. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your super chat, pal. I don't know why I'm yawning so much this morning. I'm absolutely knackered, and it doesn't really make any sense. But any answers on that? What about Brandon Williams? Do you think he'll be sold in the summer as well, says Jason? I don't know. You'd think so, but you never know. You never know with Man United. I'm convinced Malacia has left. Never an update, says Will Arnott. Oh, that just reminds me. Bruno Fernandes. I don't know what this is all about. I actually read it in the live chat this morning. Somebody was like, what do you think about the Bruno Fernandes new contract? So I went searching around, messaged a couple of people. Is there anything about a Bruno new contract? And it was no. So I've looked at it. He's got 2 years left on his contract with the option of another year. So he's basically got 3 years left on his contract, and he's going to be 30 this year. So that takes him to 33. We won't be handing a new contract out to Bruno Fernandes. We can take him up to 33. We won't give a new contract. And he's only just had a new contract. Ineos are not going to want to sit down and give Bruno Fernandes a new contract. It's going to be low. Got to go low. It'd be low. That's not going to be on their list of priorities. Somebody in the chat just said, why would you give him one anyway? He's playing crap. Well, I disagree with that. I think he's a very, very important player, but I don't see a new contract for Bruno Fernandes. I don't even know why it would be even being discussed. I'd acknowledge that there's interest from Saudi and they might be offering him 800 grand a week. And maybe Bruno's agent might say, look, we've been offered 800 grand a week. We want more money here. I think United would say, well, you're not for sale and you're not having a new contract. Maybe 2 + 2 is 6. I don't know. But there's no way that... there's absolutely no way that United are going to be sitting down to give Bruno Fernandes a contract at the moment. There's way too much to be talking about. You've got a massive summer. We haven't even got the director of football in. You've got people who've got 1 year left on their contract, like Wan-Bissaka. You've got Varane, who's technically out of contract in the summer. Let's not forget. We're not doing that. Ericsson staying till the summer, confirmed, says Robert. I told you. What did I say? That Ericsson story was a load of shit. Absolutely never going to be going anywhere. So thanks for that, Robert. James Smith, would you still like to sign Evan Ferguson in the summer, Mark, or go for a more experienced striker? Mate, I would love that. I would absolutely love Evan Ferguson and Rasmus Højlund as our 2 strikers. In that scenario, I'd be happy because they're both young with big potential, and I would be happy with those 2 rotating with each other, and I think they could inspire and work with each other together. I understand going for the more experienced striker, but I would like Evan Ferguson and Rasmus, and I think it would work. I think they'd complement each other really well. And imagine that. One of them starts, and then you bring the other one on for the last half an hour. Then the next game, and obviously you've got fitness, form, etc., suspension. So I think those 2 as your strikers, I'd love that. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think United will have the money to go and sign Evan Ferguson. I think the money is going to be ridiculous, as we know, but I would love it. And I think, honestly, I think Ferguson would love to come to Man United, but he'd probably like to go to Arsenal as well. Or, I don't think we'll have the money to do it. Maybe you didn't have as good a sleep as you thought. Sometimes you get the hours, but you're tossing and turning all night and not getting a deep one in, says WM. That's what she said. Thank you very much for those super chats as well. Mario says Rasmus has a higher ceiling. Oh, yeah, well, I didn't say that Ferguson would take Rasmus's place, but RP says it would be like having Rooney and Tevez. Look, I think Rasmus himself, and I would say it, and I'm sure you would say it, I don't want to bring in Guirassy to sit on the bench. You want to have 2 strikers that are pushing each other. Look at Alvarez and Haaland. I mean, Haaland's the number 1, but Alvarez has had a really good season and found his way into the team in different ways. I think having 2 good strikers pushing each other in the modern game is not a bad thing. I think 10, 20 years ago it was a bad thing because someone's got to sit on the bench. But nowadays, they're playing so many games and so many minutes within those games, you're almost got to take a striker off after 70 minutes because they're tired. And then you bring another one on. So every game you're getting at least half an hour. Hi, Mark. Love your videos. Numero uno, says Haji. Thank you very much, mate. Bruno is the best midfielder in our team by far, Mark, says Dark Moon. And we do need 2 strikers, says David Campbell. What are your early thoughts on the Villa game? Well, look, my early thoughts on the Villa game is that we don't have to have too earlier thoughts because we've got... we'll be previewing it tomorrow. It's Thursday. The week's going very, very quickly. But what I would say is that we've got the... I'm going to do United stand at 7 o'clock tonight because I'm going to watch Villa play Chelsea at 8 o'clock tonight because, 1, I think it's going to be a good game, but 2, it's a great opportunity to have a good look at Villa ahead of the game on Sunday because I was glimpsing Villa on Saturday. I watched them last week against Newcastle. I thought there were some really big vulnerabilities that we could exploit. I didn't really watch the Sheffield United game because they're so crap, but tonight I think it will be a good gauge of where Villa are at. Clemens says, it's going to be a massive game for us though, and it will be tough. Clemens says, just to follow up, do you think anyone from the youth can step up at centre-back this season? Would be nice to know if we have any left-footed kids, says Clemens. I'm not aware of any left-footed centre-backs. Obviously, we've seen Camboire step forward a little bit, and with Ten Hag, if he's using somebody, it's because he thinks that they are ready. So Camboire is an interesting one. I would suspect he ends up going on loan in the summer. I don't see him being next year's Mainu and starting at centre-back for Man United. I think United need to buy 2 centre-backs in the summer. That's where I am with it. Yeah. What about the FA Cup, Mark? Well, look, FA Cup, if you beat... I was just going to check this, actually. We know that Lissandro is going to be back in early April. And we'll find out who we're going to play in the 5th round tonight, because Bristol are playing at Nottingham Forest. The date for that is Wednesday the 28th of February. The quarter-final is Saturday the 16th of March. So Martinez won't be back until the semi-final, which is the 20th of April, if we get there. So I would... Look, it's a difficult game to go to Forest or Bristol away from home. We've lost at Forest this season already. But I would fancy us to have a good chance of winning that. If you win that, the quarter-final is on Saturday the 16th of March. We won't have Martinez for that. That could be Man City at the Etihad. It could be Liverpool at Anfield. So the FA Cup is really important to Manchester United. Of course it is. But we don't know. We don't know. I think we've got to stay in this tournament and try and avoid as many big clubs as we can, and then to see what we get later in the final or something like that. Yeah, we won't have Martinez back for the quarterfinal in March, but if we get to the semi-finals, he should be back. MD says, I would have bought Grassi on a release clause and took a gamble. We didn't have the money, mate. Apparently we didn't have the money. Yeah. Oh, just a quick one as well. Remember last night I said that as part of getting the Rasmus interview, the company that edited it for us added an audio track in Hindi and Spanish. Apparently the Spanish one is still Hindi, so we've got to look at that today. But look, it's really good. I was listening to it last night. You can watch the interview with Rasmus in Hindi, and it still sounds like me, and it still sounds like Rasmus, but we're talking Hindi. What we did is we recorded we recorded the English one, stopped it, and then did another 13-minute interview, replicated it, and we just spoke in Hindi. We're both fluent, and Spanish as well. We're not. It's been edited, but it's been edited really, really well, because it does sound like me and it does sound like Rasmus. So if you are Hindi, check it out. You might listen to it already, but yeah, it's only that one episode, but yeah, it's worth a listen. And we'll sort the Spanish one out. Right, thanks everyone for watching. We've got a 2 o'clock show today. Keep an eye out for that one. It's a good one. I think you'll really enjoy it. And I'd love to put every video in every language. It would be great, but we do way too much content. So yeah, I think I might have to go and have a sleep. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm back at 7 o'clock anyway. We've got a 2 o'clock show which you'll really enjoy, and we've got Villa versus Newcastle. No, Villa versus Chelsea watch along tonight as well. But I'll speak to you a bit later. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. Maybe I'm coming down with something. I'm talking to myself now. Have a great day, everyone. Take care. Smash a like on the video and give us your comments as always. Would you cash in on Greenwood? Would you cash in on Rashford? And would you be giving Bruno a new contract? 3 big conversation topics there. Speak to you all in a bit. Take care.